The Zelthari homeworld was a kaleidoscope of chaos, the sky a swirling mass of dark clouds and flashes of crimson lightning. I stood at the edge of the high command chamber, my heart pounding as I watched the frantic activity below. The Council of Elders had gathered, their elongated faces etched with a mix of desperation and fear. High Commander Zarek, with his shimmering skin reflecting the chaotic atmosphere, bellowed orders, his voice echoing throughout the chamber.
Silence.
Zarek commanded, raising a hand as the council members fell silent, their eyes wide with apprehension. We are on the brink of extinction. The cosmic disturbance is worsening, and we have only one option left. We must reach out to the humans. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the council. I could feel their skepticism, the weight of their doubt pressing down on me. Humans? One of the counselors scoffed, his voice dripping with derision. They are a primitive race, incapable of understanding our plight.
Zarek's Eisnarot.
Primitive or not, they are our only hope. We have exhausted all other options. If we fail to secure their assistance, we will perish, and our legacy will vanish into the void. As the council debated the merits of contacting Earth, I could feel the urgency building within me. The Zelthari had always prided themselves on their advanced technology and military might, but now, standing on the precipice of annihilation, we were forced to acknowledge our vulnerability. Across the galaxy, on a remote corner of Earth, Captain Sarah Mitchell sat in her cramped command center, surrounded by outdated technology that reflected the struggles of her own people. I could only imagine her skepticism as she received our urgent communication. Captain Mitchell, her voice crackled over the comms, gritty and determined. What do you mean, the Zelthari need help? This can't be right. We're not equipped for an intergalactic rescue mission. I could almost see her pacing, her brow furrowed in thought as she processed the enormity of our request. I admired her resolve, even if her initial reaction was laced with doubt. We are facing extinction, I had to remind her, urgency filling my tone. Our homeworld is in chaos. Time is not on our side. We need your fleet, however fragile you may believe it to be.
Fragile?
You haven't seen our fleet yet, she shot back, a hint of sarcasm in her voice. But I'll gather my crew. We'll see what we can do. As the transmission ended, I felt a glimmer of hope, mingled with trepidation. The humans were known for their unpredictability, but perhaps that was exactly what we needed. Meanwhile, aboard the aging starship Hope, Captain Mitchell rallied her crew. I could hear the lively banter between the members, a stark contrast to the atmosphere I had just witnessed on my homeworld. Jake, are you sure you can get this old crate off the ground? Sarah teased, her voice filled with a mix of challenge and amusement.
Old?
This beauty has seen more action than your entire fleet combined, Jake shot back, a grin plastered across his face. He was the ship's engineer, and despite his laid-back demeanor, he took immense pride in his work. Lisa Wong, the strategist, chimed in, just remember, we're not going to win any beauty contests with this ship. We need to rely on our brains, not just brawn. Tomas Rivera, the pilot, added, I've flown worse ships. As long as Jake doesn't blow us up before we even leave the atmosphere, we'll be fine. Their laughter echoed through the cramped corridors of the Hope, a testament to their camaraderie. Yet beneath the jokes lay an undercurrent of anxiety. They were embarking on a mission that could very well lead them into the heart of a cosmic storm, and they knew it. In the engineering bay, the crew gathered around a flickering screen displaying the Zelthari's distress signal. The image of Zarek, with his solemn expression and shimmering skin, flickered ominously. Captain, Lisa said, her eyes scanning the data, these readings are more dire than we anticipated. If we don't act quickly, they might not survive. Sarah nodded, her determination clear. Then we'll do whatever it takes. We might be a fragile fleet, but we've got heart. And right now, that's what the Zelthari need. As the crew prepared for departure, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the air. I had witnessed the Zelthari's military prowess firsthand, and I knew that humanity's greatest asset was their unpredictability. Would that be enough to save us? Let's run through the systems one more time, Sarah commanded, her voice steady as she took charge. Jake, check the engines. Tomas, prepare for takeoff procedures. Lisa, review the navigation charts. On it. Jake replied, diving into the machinery with a focused intensity. I hope this ship can handle a few cosmic bumps, Tomas muttered as he adjusted the controls. I'd hate to end up like a cosmic pancake before we even reach them. Just trust me, Jake called out over his shoulder, his hands moving deftly across the controls. "I've got this." The ship vibrated slightly as the engines roared to life, and I could sense the anticipation building among the crew. Their spirits were high, but I could hear the doubts creeping into their laughter, the unspoken fears that lingered beneath the surface. "All right, everyone," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the tension. "This is our chance to make a difference. We may be misfits, but we're going to show the Zelthari what humanity is capable of." As I watched them prepare to leave, I couldn't shake the sense of impending danger. They were underestimating not only themselves but the complexities of the situation that awaited them. "Prepare for launch," Sarah shouted, and with that, the hope shuddered as it broke free from the confines of Earth's atmosphere. I could only hope that when we finally met, the humans would rise to the occasion, proving that even in our darkest hour, there was a flicker of light. The stars stretched out before them, vast and unyielding, a reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. As they soared into the unknown, I felt a connection forming between our two worlds, a fragile bond that could either save us or lead to our ultimate downfall. In the heart of the galaxy, the cosmic storm raged on, and the fate of both the Zelthari and humanity hung in the balance. As the Hope glided into the orbit of the Zelthari homeworld, my heart raced with a mixture of excitement and dread. The planet below was a swirl of colors, a mesmerizing sight that belied the chaos I knew awaited us. I could hardly believe that this fragile ship, held together by little more than hope and determination, was supposed to save an entire species. As we approached the docking bay, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach.
Prepare for landing, Thomas.
I called out, gripping the armrest of my captain's chair. "Just another day in paradise," he replied, his voice laced with feigned nonchalance, though I could see the tension in his shoulders.
Don't get cocky, Thomas.
"We're not here for a vacation," Jake chimed in from the engineering console, his fingers dancing over the outdated controls. "Yeah, it's not like we're here to make friends," Lisa added, shooting a sideways glance at me. "Just don't screw it up, Captain." I shot her a glare, but the corner of my mouth twitched upward. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, Lisa." As the ship shuddered to a halt, I took a deep breath, readying myself for what lay ahead. The moment we disembarked, I could feel the weight of the Zelthari Council's expectations pressing down on us. Zarek stood at the entrance, flanked by towering guards with their sleek, shimmering armor. He regarded us with a mixture of disdain and disbelief, his eyes narrowing as they scanned our mismatched crew. "Captain Sarah Mitchell," Zarek began, his voice booming in the vast docking bay. "You and your crew have arrived at a critical juncture for our people. We do not have the luxury of time or the patience for frivolities." "Frivolities?" I echoed, the indignation bubbling up inside me. "We're here to help, Zarek. We may not be what you expected, but we have skills." "Skills?" he interrupted, his tone dripping with skepticism. "What can your fragile species offer in the face of annihilation? You are outmatched in every aspect." "Hold on a second," Tomas interjected, stepping forward with a fire in his eyes. "We may not have your technology, but we have ingenuity. We're adaptable. You might be surprised at what we can do when it counts." Zarek's gaze shifted to Tomas, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. "Adaptability is not sufficient when faced with an extinction-level event. We require immediate action, not empty boasts." I could feel the tension rising, a palpable energy crackling in the air around us. "Look, we understand the urgency," I said, attempting to regain control of the conversation. "But we need to work together. Let's discuss a plan, not just military tactics. We need a strategy that utilizes all our strengths." "Strategy?"
Zarek scoffed.
"You humans believe you can negotiate your way out of this situation. We are facing a cosmic event that threatens our very existence. We do not have time for your human methods." "Then what do you propose?" I asked, feeling the heat of frustration rise in my cheeks. "Charging into battle with no plan? That sounds like a sure way to doom us all." Zarek opened his mouth to retort, but before he could, Lisa stepped in, her voice calm but firm. "Zarek, we're not trying to undermine you. We're here to collaborate. If we pool our resources and knowledge, we might come up with something viable. We can't afford to waste time bickering." He paused, a flicker of consideration crossing his features. "Very well. But understand this, every moment wasted is a moment closer to our extinction." With that, We moved to a nearby conference room, the tension still thick in the air. As we settled in, I glanced around at my crew. Jake looked at me, his brow furrowed. You think we can actually convince him? I don't know, I admitted, lowering my voice. But we have to try. As the discussions began, Zarek laid out the dire situation in stark detail. The cosmic event is nearing its peak. If we do not mobilize our forces, we will be overwhelmed. We need to calculate our response with precision. What if we could create a diversion? Lisa suggested, her eyes lighting up with an idea. If we can draw attention away from the core issues, we might gain time to develop a more effective strategy. Zarek looked at her as if she had suggested dancing in the middle of a battlefield. A diversion? You believe that will save our people? It could buy us time, I interjected, trying to support Lisa's suggestion. If we can distract whatever is causing this event, perhaps we can find a way to mitigate its effects. Or we could just end up drawing more attention to ourselves, Zarek countered, his skepticism evident. Your plan lacks substance. The conversation spiraled, each of us throwing out ideas, but Zarek remained rigid, unwilling to budge. I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. Zarek, we can't keep arguing about this, I said, my voice rising. We need to work together to find a solution. Enough. Zarek slammed his fist on the table, causing everyone to flinch. You humans are infuriating. You think you can talk your way out of a cosmic disaster? I do not have the time nor the patience for your human sensibilities. I felt my heart pound in my chest, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. We're not here to fight, Zarek. We're offering a different perspective. We can think outside the box. Your perspective is irrelevant if it does not lead to actionable results, he replied coldly. The room fell silent, the air heavy with unspoken words. I glanced at my crew, their faces mirroring my frustration. It was clear we needed to change our approach, fast. Let's take a break, I said, my voice softer now, trying to defuse the tension. We need to clear our minds and come back with fresh thoughts. As we stepped outside, I felt the cool breeze against my skin, a welcome relief from the heated atmosphere inside. What now? Jake asked, running a hand through his hair. He's not going to listen to us if we can't prove ourselves. Maybe we need to show him what we're capable of, Lisa suggested, her eyes brightening with a spark of inspiration. There has to be something we can do to impress him. We could explore the ship, Tomas chimed in, see if there's any technology we can learn from that might help us enhance our capabilities. Good idea, I said, suddenly feeling a sense of urgency. Let's find something that could turn this around. We made our way back into the docking bay, where the Hope stood, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. As we boarded, Lisa led the charge, her curiosity guiding us through the corridors. There has to be something here we can use, she said, her fingers tracing the walls. Let's check the engineering bay, Jake suggested. If there's anything hidden, it's likely to be there. As we entered the engineering bay, I noticed a glimmer of something unusual amidst the clutter of old tools and outdated technology. What's that? I asked, pointing towards a panel that shimmered in the low light. Lisa moved closer, her eyes widening. It looks like Zelthari technology. Can you access it? I asked, my heart racing. I can try, she said, kneeling down to inspect the panel. As she worked, I felt a surge of hope. This could be it, the breakthrough we needed. Come on, Lisa, I urged, watching her fingers dance over the controls. You can do this. I think I've got it, she exclaimed as the panel illuminated, revealing a complex array of data. Can it enhance our systems? Jake asked, excitement bubbling beneath his calm exterior. Potentially, she replied, her face lighting up with determination. If we can integrate this technology into our ship, we might stand a chance. I felt a grin spread across my face. Then let's get to work. This is our opportunity. As we began to decipher the technology, the atmosphere shifted. The tension from earlier started to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and purpose. For the first time since we arrived, I felt a flicker of hope, a belief that maybe, just maybe, we could bridge the gap between our species and find a way to save them. Let's show Zarek what humanity is made of, I declared, my voice strong and resolute. The crew nodded, their determination mirroring my own. Together, We would find a way to turn the tide. The faint hum of the hope reverberated through the ship, intertwining with the clattering of tools and the occasional shout of excitement or frustration from my crew. We had spent countless hours over the last few days integrating the stolen Zelthri technology into our ship, and it was finally coming together. I stood at the center of the engineering bay, flanked by Jake and Lisa, both of whom were engrossed in their tasks. "All right, let's see if this works," Jake said, wiping sweat from his brow. His fingers danced over the control panel, and I could see the determination etched on his face. "If I can reroute this interface just a bit more, we should be able to harness the energy from the Zelthri shields. Just make sure we don't blow ourselves up in the process," Lisa teased, her eyes glinting with mischief. She was seated at her station, surrounded by a jumble of wires and tools. "Remember what happened when you tried to fix the reactor last month?"
Hey, that was one time.
Jake protested, a grin breaking through his intense focus. "And it was only a small explosion." I chuckled, the atmosphere lightening. "Let's keep it small then. We're trying to save a planet, not destroy my ship." The banter made the long hours of toil feel lighter. I watched as my crew worked together, a mishmash of personalities and skills, united in this chaotic effort to save the Zelthri. Tomas, our pilot, had joined us in engineering after his flight training session, his dark hair tousled and a wide grin on his face. "Are we ready to test this thing?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe with an air of casual confidence. "Because I'm itching to see how fast we can move." "Soon," I promised, glancing at the data displays. "We need to finalize the integration first. If we're going to make a difference, we can't afford any mistakes." As the hours blended into one another, the air grew thick with the scent of metal and the faint electric buzz of machinery. Lisa's laughter rang out again, and I turned to see her holding up a small device, a prototype of sorts. "Look what I found while rummaging through the Zelthri tech. A combat drone. We could modify it to scout ahead." My heart raced at the thought. "That could be a game changer," I admitted. "It might give us the intel we need before a confrontation." "Let's see if it still works," Jake suggested, excitement bubbling in his voice. "If it does, we can program it to relay information back to us." With renewed energy, we gathered around Lisa's workstation. The drone was small, sleek, and distinctly Zelthri in design, with intricate patterns etched into its surface. It felt alien yet fascinating, a reminder of the advanced civilization we were trying to assist. Tomas leaned in closer, inspecting the contraption with curiosity. "What do you think, Sarah? Should we risk it?" "Absolutely," I replied, feeling a surge of hope. "If we can get it operational, it could provide us the edge we need. Plus, it would be a morale booster for the crew." Over the next few hours, we worked seamlessly, our previous doubts melting away as we each contributed our strengths. The drone whirred to life, a soft blue light pulsing from its core. Jake's eyes sparkled with accomplishment. "It's alive." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "All right, let's program it to scan the surrounding area for any threats. If the Drakens are aware of our presence, we can't afford to be caught off guard." As we input the necessary commands, a sense of camaraderie enveloped us, reminding me of those early days when we were just a mismatched crew trying to find our place in the universe. We had come so far, and while the Zelthri had initially dismissed us, we were proving our worth in ways that went beyond mere firepower. "Okay, drone, let's see what you can do," I said, initiating the launch sequence. The drone shot off into the open air, a blur of motion against the backdrop of the Zelthri homeworld's vibrant skies. We all turned to watch as it ascended, our collective breaths held in anticipation. "Keep the feed active," I instructed, my heart racing as the drone's camera began transmitting data back to us. The screens blinked to life, revealing the world beyond the ship. The lush landscapes of the Zelthri homeworld were breathtaking, but I couldn't let myself be distracted by their beauty. We had a mission. "What's that?" Lisa pointed at a cluster of figures moving in the distance. "Are those Drakens?" I squinted at the screen, my stomach twisting as I recognized the telltale shapes of the rival alien faction. "It looks like they're mobilizing. We need to analyze their numbers and movements." As the drone relayed information, I felt a pang of urgency. The Zelthri were on the brink of annihilation, and if the Drakens discovered our plans, they could easily exploit the situation. I turned to my crew, determination hardening my resolve.
"This Shang is evading."
We need to report back to Zarek and his council immediately. They need to know what we're up against. Do you think they'll listen? Tomas asked, a hint of doubt in his voice. They have to, I replied, keeping my tone steady. We're their best chance at survival. If we can show them what we've accomplished, maybe they'll start taking us seriously. With the drone's data in hand, we made our way to the Zelthari Council chamber. As we entered, the atmosphere felt charged with tension. Zarek and his advisors were deep in discussion, their voices low and grave. I cleared my throat, drawing their attention. High Commander Zarek, I began, walking forward with purpose. We have vital information about the Drakons. He regarded me with skepticism, his gaze sharp as a blade. This had better be worth my time, Captain. I gestured to the screen behind us, where the drone's footage played, revealing the encroaching threat. We've detected a significant movement of Drakon forces. They're preparing for an attack, and if we don't act quickly, we could lose everything. Zarek's expression shifted, a flicker of concern crossing his features. Show me. As I explained our findings, I could see the wheels turning in Zarek's mind. The council members leaned closer, their interest piqued. We may need to reconsider our strategy, Zarek said, his voice low. If these humans are as resourceful as you claim, we might just stand a chance against the Drakons. The atmosphere in the chamber began to shift. For the first time, I sensed a crack in the Zelthari's disdain. Perhaps my crew's ingenuity could bridge the gap between our species. I exchanged glances with Jake, Lisa, and Tomas, hope igniting in our hearts. This is our moment, I whispered to them, feeling the weight of our mission pressing down on my shoulders. We need to convince them that together, we can face whatever comes next. It's not just about military might, it's about strategy and creativity. As Zarek and his council deliberated, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing on the precipice of something monumental. Our fate, intertwined with the Zelthari, hung in the balance, and I was determined to make this alliance work. But even as hope blossomed, the shadows of the Drakons loomed large, a reminder that danger was ever present and our time was running out. As I stood on the bridge of the Hope, staring out at the vastness of space, I could feel the weight of our situation pressing down on my shoulders. We were on the brink of a confrontation that could change everything for both humanity and the Zelthari. The news of the Drakons' impending attack loomed over us like a dark cloud, but within that cloud, I felt a flicker of hope. We had just integrated the stolen Zelthari technology into our ship, and it was time to put our plan into action. All right, team, I said, my voice steady, though my heart raced with anticipation. We've got a chance to turn the tables on the Drakons. We need to outsmart them, not outgun them. Jake, how's the new tech holding up? Jake, our chief engineer, was hunched over his console, fingers flying over the controls as he monitored our systems. He glanced up, a mixture of excitement and anxiety in his eyes. It's holding surprisingly well. The energy output is stable, and I think we can manipulate the warp field to create a false signature. If we project that in the right direction, we can lure the Drakons into our trap. Good, I replied, feeling a surge of confidence. Lisa, what's our plan for the ambush? Lisa, our strategist, was already scribbling notes on her tablet, her brow furrowed in concentration. We'll position ourselves behind the asteroid belt. When the Drakons enter the zone, we'll use the tech to create a decoy signature. They'll think they're approaching an easy target, only to find us waiting for them. It'll give us the element of surprise. Tomas, our pilot, leaned back in his chair, a smirk on his face. And I'll make sure we're in and out before they even know what hit them. Just like a ghost. Exactly, I said, a grin spreading across my face. We're not just going to fight, we're going to outsmart them. It's time to show the Zelthari what humans can really do. As we finalized our strategy, I noticed Zarek entering the bridge. The Zelthari High Commander had been skeptical of our capabilities from the start, but I could see something shifting in his demeanor. He was starting to recognize that perhaps there was more to humanity than he had initially thought. What is your plan, Captain Mitchell? Zarek asked, his voice grave yet curious. I turned to him, ready to lay out our approach. We're planning an ambush, Commander. We'll use the asteroids as cover, projecting a false signature to lure the Drakons in. When they think they have us cornered, we'll strike. Zarek studied me for a moment, his alien features unreadable. It is a risky gambit. If it fails, we will be at their mercy. I met his gaze, willing him to see the potential in our plan. If we don't take risks, we'll never win. This is our best shot, Zarek. Trust me. After a tense moment, Zarek nodded, albeit reluctantly. Very well. I will support your strategy. But know this, Captain, if we fail, the consequences will be dire for both our peoples. I understand, I replied, determination solidifying in my chest. But I believe in this crew. We've faced worse odds before. With our plan in place, we moved quickly to prepare for the ambush. I could feel the palpable energy in the air, a mix of anxiety and excitement. Each member of the crew knew what was at stake. We were fighting not just for our survival, but for the future of the Zelthari as well. As we made our way toward the asteroid belt, I caught a glimpse of Zarek standing at the helm, watching intently as the stars streaked by. I walked over to him, feeling a sense of camaraderie beginning to form between us. Zarek, I said, breaking the silence, I know this isn't easy for you. Trusting humans, especially after everything that's happened. But I promise, we're in this together. Zarek turned to me, his expression softening slightly. You are unlike any human I have encountered before, Captain. Your tenacity is admirable. Thanks, I replied, surprised by the compliment. We all have our strengths. We just need to leverage them. As we approached our designated position, Tomas's voice broke through the tension. All right, crew, we're in position. The Drakens should be entering the zone shortly. Everyone, prepare for the decoy launch. I took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through my veins. This was it. This was our moment to turn the tide. Jake, are we ready on your end? Ready as I'll ever be, Jake said, his fingers dancing over the controls. Just let me know when to activate the decoy. Lisa, how's the sensor array? I asked, glancing back at her. Working perfectly. I'll monitor their approach and let you know when they're in range, she replied, her eyes glued to her screen. Time seemed to stretch as we waited, the silence heavy with anticipation. Moments felt like hours until finally, Lisa's voice broke through the tension. Captain, I'm detecting multiple Draken vessels entering the field. They're taking the bait. Now, Jake. I commanded. With a swift motion, Jake activated the decoy. I watched as the holographic image of our ship projected itself into the void, mimicking our energy signatures and systems. The Drakens were drawn in, their ships closing in on the false target, just as we had planned. On my mark, I said, my heart pounding. 3, 2, 1. Now. Engaging now. Jake shouted as Tomas hit the thrusters, propelling us forward from our hiding spot. The Drakens were caught completely off guard as we emerged from the asteroid field, weapons primed and ready. Fire at will. I commanded, feeling the surge of adrenaline as our weapon systems lit up. The Draken ships turned, but it was too late. Our crew executed the plan flawlessly, and we struck with precision, catching them in a crossfire. Direct hit. Tomas yelled, exhilaration in his voice. They didn't see that coming. Keep the pressure on. Don't let up. I shouted, my focus unwavering. As we engaged the enemy, I could see Zarek at the helm, his usual stoic expression replaced with a fierce determination. Our forces will assist you, he said, activating the Zelthari ships that had come along for the mission. Suddenly, the battlefield erupted with chaos as beams of light and explosions illuminated the dark expanse of space. I could hardly believe what was happening. Our ambush was working. The Drakens were disoriented, struggling to respond effectively. I could feel the exhilaration in the air, the shared belief that we were doing the impossible. Captain, they're starting to retreat. Lisa shouted, her voice filled with disbelief. Keep pushing them. I urged, adrenaline surging through my veins. We can't let them regroup. As we pressed the attack, I caught a glimpse of Zarek, his eyes wide with a mix of shock and admiration. You humans, you are far more formidable than I anticipated. It's not just us, I replied, feeling a swell of pride for my crew. We're in this together. The battle raged on, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I allowed myself to hope. We were winning, and it was because of our creativity, our determination, and our willingness to work together. Drakens are pulling back. Tomas announced, his voice cutting through the chaos. Let them run, I said, my heart pounding with adrenaline. We've shown them what we're capable of. As the last of the Drakens fled, I allowed myself a moment to breathe. We had done it. Against all odds, we had successfully executed our plan. The bridge erupted in cheers, the atmosphere electric with triumph. Looking to Zarek, I saw a hint of a smile on his face, a rare expression for the stoic commander. You have earned my respect today, Captain Mitchell. Perhaps there is hope for our alliance after all. Thank you, Zarek, I said, feeling a warmth spread through me at his words. This is just the beginning. As we floated in the aftermath of the battle, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had crossed a threshold. We had proven ourselves in a way that would forever change the dynamics between our species. But as the adrenaline began to fade, I couldn't help but wonder what challenges lay ahead. The universe was vast, and the shadows of uncertainty still loomed. For now, however, we celebrated our victory together. It was a small moment of triumph, but one that felt monumental. I looked around at my crew, my friends, and felt a surge of gratitude. We had come together in the face of adversity, and I knew that this bond would only grow stronger as we faced whatever came next. The atmosphere in the grand hall of the Zelthari Council chamber buzzed with an electric energy that I hadn't fully anticipated. After the recent victory over the Drakens, the mood should have been one of unbridled celebration, a rare moment of triumph in a time of despair. Yet, as I stood among the towering Zelthari, their elongated forms shimmering with pride, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Captain Mitchell, you should be feeling proud, Zarek's voice boomed across the chamber, cutting through the laughter and chatter. His imposing figure was adorned with intricate armor that glinted in the hall's ambient light, but his expression was softened by a newfound respect. Your crew's ingenuity may have just turned the tide for us. I smiled, but it felt tight on my lips. We did what we had to do, Commander. We worked together. It's what we do best. I glanced at my crew, Jake, Lisa, and Tomas, standing just a few paces behind me. They were exchanging relieved glances, but I could see the uncertainty still lingering in their eyes. As the celebration continued, I pulled Jake aside. What do you think? Do you feel like they really see us as allies now? Jake shrugged, running a hand through his messy hair. I think they're starting to understand us, but I still feel like we're walking on eggshells. This alliance might be more fragile than they think. Exactly. My voice was low, almost a whisper. We need to tread carefully. Their desperation could lead to impulsive decisions. Just then, Zarek approached, his expression shifting from jovial to serious. Captain, may I have a word with you in private? I exchanged a quick glance with my crew, who nodded their encouragement. Of course, Commander, I replied, trying to mask the nervous flutter in my stomach as I followed him to a more secluded alcove of the chamber. Sarah, he began, his tone shifting to one of earnestness. I've come to respect humanity more than I initially believed possible. Your crew's resourcefulness has awakened a glimmer of hope in my people. Thank you, Zarek. That means a lot, I replied, my heart racing. We're just doing our best to help. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. But this victory is merely a temporary reprieve. The threat from the Drakens won't disappear overnight, and my people's survival is still at stake. I believe we have the potential for a lasting alliance, one that could turn the tide not just against the Drakens but against whatever else the cosmos throws our way. I nodded, sensing the weight of his words. I agree. But we need to be transparent with each other. We can't afford to keep secrets if we want this alliance to work. Trust is key. Zarek's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something, perhaps doubt, crossing his features. You are wise for one so young. There are complexities within our council that you may not yet understand. Not all of my kind share my views on humanity. Then we need to address those complexities together. I'm willing to fight for this alliance, but it has to be a partnership, not a hierarchy. He regarded me for a long moment, and I felt the gravity of the future resting on our conversation. You have my word, Captain. I will advocate for transparency. Together, we will forge a path forward. Together, I echoed, a sense of hope blossoming within me. Just as the atmosphere began to lighten, a sudden tremor rippled through the chamber. The ground beneath us shook violently, and a low rumble echoed from the depths of the Zelthari homeworld. What was that? I exclaimed, instinctively reaching for Zarek's arm for stability. He looked alarmed, his vibrant scales reflecting a kaleidoscope of colors. It's the cosmic disturbance. It's escalating. The council chamber erupted into chaos as Zelthari rushed to the exits, their elongated forms darting for safety. I turned back to my crew, who had just arrived at the entrance, their faces painted with concern. "Sarah, what's happening?" Tomas shouted over the cacophony. "I don't know. We need to find a secure location." I yelled back, grabbing Jake's arm. "Come on." We raced through the corridors, the tremors intensifying with every step. I could hear the panic rising among the Zelthari, their voices a blend of fear and confusion. As we made our way to the starship Hope, Lisa suddenly grabbed my shoulder. "Sarah, we need to get to the control room. If this disturbance is as bad as it feels, we may need to prepare the ship for emergency procedures." I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. "Let's go. We need to move quickly." Bursting into the control room, I found my station already lit up with alerts. Jake rushed to the console, his fingers flying over the controls. "The disturbance is growing. I can't pinpoint its source." "Can we stabilize the ship?" I asked, already feeling the dread creeping into my bones. He grimaced. "It's going to be tough. The technology we integrated is still new to us. We're not sure how it will react to this kind of energy." "Can we shield ourselves?" Lisa interjected, her eyes wide with urgency. "Possibly, but we'll need to reroute power from the weapons systems," Jake replied, glancing at me. "We won't have enough energy for both." "Then we prioritize shielding," I decided, feeling the weight of leadership pressing down on me. "We can't fight if we're not alive." Tomas, who had been monitoring the external readings, suddenly shouted, "There's a massive surge coming. It's going to hit us in." Before he could finish, the ship lurched violently, throwing us against the control panel. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered ominously. "Hold on!" I yelled, gripping the edge of the console as the ship rocked again. "Jake, stabilize us." "I'm trying," he shouted back, sweat beading on his forehead as he worked frantically. Another blast of energy hit us, and the control room dimmed. I felt a surge of panic rise within me, but I forced it down. "We can do this. Just focus." The Zelthari homeworld was no longer just a place of hope, it had become a ticking time bomb. We were caught in the crossfire between survival and annihilation, and as I looked into the eyes of my crew, I realized our destiny was intertwined more than ever. The future of both species hinged on our next move, and time was running out. The air in the Zelthari Council chamber crackled with tension, a thick fog of desperation hanging over us like an impending storm. I stood at the edge of the raised platform, my heart pounding as High Commander Zarek outlined his latest plan. The glow of the Council's holographic display illuminated his angular face, making him look even more formidable. "We must harness the energy from the cosmic disturbance," he declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "It is our only hope for survival." "Commander, no." I interjected, stepping forward, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "We can't sacrifice lives for a gamble. There has to be another way." My crew stood behind me, Jake's brow furrowed in concentration, Lisa shaking her head in disbelief, and Tomas crossing his arms, a frown etched on his face. Zarek's emerald eyes narrowed at me, and I could feel the weight of the Council's gaze. "You misunderstand the gravity of our situation, Captain Mitchell. We are on the brink of extinction. This is not merely a gamble, it is a calculated risk for a chance at salvation." "And what about the price?" I countered. "You're asking for lives, lives that could be saved if we think creatively. We've proven that we can outsmart our enemies. Let's use that ingenuity to find a different solution." A murmur rippled through the Council, and I could see the divisions forming. A faction of Zelthari, their skin shimmering with iridescent hues, exchanged glances filled with a mix of fear and resignation. Zarek, however, stood firm. "This is not the time for idealism. Our survival is at stake, and we must act decisively." The discussion escalated into chaos, voices raised in heated debate. I felt my frustration boil over. "Listen to me," I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. "We have faced impossible odds before, and we can do it again. The Drakons are gone. The cosmic disturbance is a challenge we can overcome, but not if we resort to sacrificing our own." But my words fell on deaf ears. A faction of the Council, led by a fierce Zelthari named Varek, rose to support Zarek's plan. What is the value of a few lives when the survival of our species is at stake? Varric argued, his voice cold and unyielding. You're talking about hopelessness. I shot back, my heart racing. The moment you decide that extinction is inevitable, you've already lost. We are not just numbers. We are beings with hopes, dreams. The time for dreams has passed, human.
Varric spat, cutting him off.
I felt a surge of anger, but I also felt a flicker of fear, realizing how deep their despair ran. We need to regroup and think, Jake started, but Zarek raised a hand, silencing him. Enough. We will proceed with the plan. Prepare the... Suddenly, the chamber shook violently, causing everyone to stumble. The holograms flickered wildly as alarms blared. What is happening? I yelled, my heart racing as the walls trembled. Zarek's expression shifted from anger to alarm. The cosmic disturbance has escalated. We need to evacuate. Panic erupted in the council chamber. Zelthari scrambled for exits, their elegant forms moving with an agility that belied their turmoil. My crew and I exchanged frantic glances. We need to get to the Hope. I shouted, turning to lead the way. As we navigated the chaos, I could feel the weight of the council's decision pressing down on me. They were willing to sacrifice everything, and now their desperation threatened to consume us all. When we reached the Hope, the ship's familiar contours brought a strange sense of comfort amidst the chaos. Tomas was already at the controls, fingers flying over the console. I'm getting readings from the disturbance, it's growing exponentially, he warned, his voice tense. How long do we have? I asked, urgency tightening my throat. Maybe minutes. If we don't make the jump soon, we'll be caught in it. Jake, help him stabilize the power levels. Lisa, prepare for launch. I commanded, my instincts kicking in. My crew sprang into action, and for a moment, I felt that familiar sense of camaraderie. But just as we prepared to leave, a group of Zelthari burst onto the deck. Their leader was Varric, fury radiating from his being. You cannot leave. We have no time for your cowardice. I'm not abandoning anyone. I shot back, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. We're taking the fight to the disturbance. If we can't harness it, we'll find a way to disrupt it. You dare defy the council? Varric sneered, his eyes narrowing. Enough. Zarek's voice boomed from behind, his presence imposing. If we are to survive, we must work together. Captain Mitchell, how do you propose we disrupt the disturbance? With the technology we integrated from your systems. I replied, my voice rising above the chaos. If we can create a counter-frequency, we might be able to destabilize it. Zarek exchanged a glance with Varric, the tension between them palpable. Very well. We will give you a chance, Captain. But should this fail? It won't fail, I promise. I interrupted, determination surging through me. We're not giving up on each other. As we raced against time, my crew and the Zelthari worked in a frantic rhythm, merging human creativity with Zelthari technology. I could feel the energy in the air, a strange blend of hope and desperation as we combined our efforts. But amidst this frantic collaboration, Varric's faction was plotting against us. I sensed it, the undercurrent of betrayal as they whispered among themselves, questioning our approach. The clock was ticking, and I could feel the weight of their mistrust pressing down on us. Just as our systems began to align, an alarm blared. They're sabotaging the ship. Jake shouted, panic lacing his voice. I turned just in time to see Varric and his followers moving to disable our controls. Stop them. I yelled, rushing forward. The ensuing chaos was a flurry of movement and sound, as my crew and I fought to protect our ship. I could feel the heat of the moment, the adrenaline pumping through my veins. Get away from the console. I shouted, lunging at Varric. He sidestepped, and I felt a jolt of pain as his shoulder collided with mine, sending me sprawling. Foolish human, he snarled, but just then, Tomas managed to get a hold of the control panel. I'm locking the systems. Now. With a quick series of commands, the ship's safety protocols activated, sealing the control room from the intruders. But the cosmic disturbance outside roared with a vengeance, shaking the Hope violently. Hold on. I yelled, gripping the console as we lurched. In that moment, as chaos reigned around us, I locked eyes with Zarek. We were two leaders, two species, standing on the precipice of annihilation. If we fail, it will be the end for both of us, he said, his voice grave. We won't fail, I replied, my heart pounding with conviction. But as the disturbance swelled, I couldn't shake the feeling that our hope was slipping away. The cosmic storm enveloped us, a swirling maelstrom of chaos and energy. And in that final tragic moment, as the ship trembled and the Zeltharian humans stood united against the storm, I realized, this was not just a battle for survival. It was a testament to our shared existence, an understanding that our fates were irrevocably intertwined. As the disturbance engulfed the hope, I reached out for Zarek, our hands brushing against each other. In that single heartbeat, we shared a final moment of understanding, a silent acknowledgement of our shared humanity and desperation. Then, darkness.